Chapter 4. The Office Environment. A physician's office should be a safe, secure, and environmentally friendly workplace. The office staff must utilize constant vigilance to maintain that status. This chapter discusses the many aspects of the office environment as they relate to both patients and staff. Safety involves not only the use or condition of the physical equipment and furnishings in the office, but also the human activities of office personnel, visitors, and patients. The protection of staff, office equipment, and materials is very important. The working environment must allow for a focus on the provision of care rather than concern about personal safety. The efficient design of the office is also a great asset to its ability to function effectively. Provisions for the physically challenged make the office environment a friendlier place for these people. Having the appropriate office management equipment available allows the office to operate more efficiently, and applying the principles of ergonomics assures employees will be able to function more effectively and safely. This chapter discusses the preparation of the office to receive patients, and considers how important the perception of the office is to patients and visitors. Unit 1. Safety, Security, and Emergency Provisions in the Medical Office. Objectives. Upon completion of the unit, meet the following terminal performance objectives by verifying knowledge of the facts and principles presented through oral and written communication at a level deemed competent. 1 name. 4 things to check to ensure safety in a reception room. Furniture stability. Electrical cord safety. Slip trip fall hazards. Emergency exit accessibility. Answer. To assure safety in a reception room, check furniture stability, electrical cord safety, slip trip fall hazards, and emergency exit accessibility. 2 list 4 hazards in a reception business office area. Electrical hazards. Slippery floors. Heavy object lifting. Poor lighting. Answer. Hazards in a reception business office area include electrical hazards, slippery floors, heavy object lifting, and poor lighting. 3 name 3 things in an examination room that might be unsafe. Unsecured medical equipment, exposed needles, unstable furniture. Answer. Things in an examination room that might be unsafe include unsecured medical equipment, exposed needles, and unstable furniture. 4. List 9 items that are covered by the Occupational Safety and Health Administration or Centers for Disease Control and Prevention regulations. Bloodborne pathogens. Personal protective equipment. Hazardous waste disposal. Needle stick prevention. Tuberculosis prevention. Chemical safety. Electrical safety. Fire safety. Emergency preparedness. Answer. Items covered by Occupational Safety and Health Administration or Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Regulations include bloodborne pathogens, personal protective equipment, hazardous waste disposal, needle stick prevention, tuberculosis prevention, chemical safety, electrical safety, fire safety, and emergency preparedness. 5. Name the 3 elements necessary for fire. Oxygen, fuel, heat. Answer. The 3 elements necessary for fire are oxygen, fuel, and heat. 6. List 4 ways a fire might start. Electrical malfunction, open flame, arson, chemical reaction. Answer. Fires might start from an electrical malfunction, open flame, arson, or chemical reaction. 7. Name 6 items that are considered to be protective barriers to prevent skin and mucous membrane exposure to pathogens. Gloves, masks, goggles, gowns, shoe covers, face shields. Answer. Protective barriers to prevent skin and mucous membrane exposure to pathogens include gloves, masks, goggles, gowns, shoe covers, and face shields. Words to know. Assault. A threat or attempt to cause harm to someone. Barrier. A physical or protective obstruction. Biohazardous. Materials that pose a risk to human health or the environment. Emergency. A situation requiring immediate attention. Environment. The surroundings or conditions in which something exists. Evacuated. Removed or emptied from a place. Extinguisher. A device used to put out fires. And hazard. A situation or substance that poses a risk to health or safety. Irrational. Unreasonable or illogical. Precautions. Measures taken to prevent harm or risk. Prevention. The act of stopping something from happening. Provisions. Supplies or arrangements made for a particular purpose. Reception. The area where people are received or greeted. Safety. Protection from harm or danger. Security. Measures taken to protect people or things. Universal precautions. Guidelines to prevent the transmission of diseases. Ventilation. The process of providing fresh air to a room or building. Volatile. Easily evaporating or explosive. A safe, healthy environment throughout the medical office. The medical office, like the home, is a place where you should feel safe and secure. But just like a home, it takes conscious effort to ensure that the office has a protective, healthy environment. The medical assistant is part of the team responsible for recognizing any safety, security, or operational hazard, helping to eliminate it, and warning coworkers and patients of any dangers. Safety in the reception room. A safe environment begins at the front door. The reception room requires a safety check every morning to ensure it presents no hazards for patients and visitors. Observe the condition of the furniture. Pay attention to chair and table legs. They must be stable and able to support the appropriate weight. Lamps and electrical cords should be examined. Bulbs should not dim or flicker, and cords should be in good condition with no evidence of fraying. Be sure lighting is adequate, so that even people with impaired vision can see well. Check the floor to be certain there are neither carpet wrinkles nor anything lying on the floor that might cause someone to fall. Avoid the use of decorative or throw rugs. Safety in the receptionist business office. In the receptionist business office area, pay special attention to file drawers and cupboard doors. Never open more than one file drawer in a vertical file at a time, because the unbalanced weight could cause the cabinet to tip forward. Many people have sustained back and extremity injuries from the automatic reaction to catch a cabinet. Also be careful with open bottom drawers. They can easily fall over. Wall cupboards pose another safety hazard. If the door is left open, you could strike your head quite forcefully when you stand up or rise from underneath. All electrical cords must be kept behind desks and other office furnishings so that they will not be tripped over. All equipment should operate properly and show no evidence of electrical shorts or damage. The examination table must be cleaned after each patient. The table must operate properly, and the medical assistant must be thoroughly competent in its use. Assist patients as necessary to sit or lie on the table. If the use of a stool is necessary, be exceptionally cautious to guard against the patient stepping on the edges, which could cause it to tip. Very ill patients, the elderly, and children should not be left alone on an examination table where they could fall. Small children accompanying a parent are best left with another office staff member while the parent is in the examination room. There is also a natural curiosity about things in the examination room cabinet or counter. Anything that might be hazardous or could become contaminated should be kept out of sight. Prescription pads should not be left lying around where they could be stolen and possibly used to obtain controlled substances. In an examination room, there is a lot of equipment with electrical cords that must be positioned so that they will not interfere with movement or walking within the room. Safety in the laboratory area. Chemicals kept in the office for laboratory work must be properly labeled and stored. Chemicals that could become volatile when kept beyond their expiration date must be monitored carefully. The testing of patients, urine, blood, and other specimens requires special procedures. Containers for the disposal of used equipment and biohazardous waste must be readily accessible. A strict adherence to universal precautions is essential to the maintenance of a safe and healthy office environment. Note: the United States Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA, and the Centers for Disease Control, CDC, in Atlanta, Georgia, have established rules for healthcare workers, which cover blood products, body fluids, tissue cultures, vaccines, sharps, gloves, speculums, cotton swabs, and other items. These are discussed in Section 4, the Clinical Medical Assistant. General Office Safety Fire. Fire prevention is very important to everyone's safety. Only 3 elements need to be present for a fire to start: heat, fuel, and oxygen. Today, there are rare exceptions to the no smoking regulations in medical and public facilities. Yet, there is still a possibility of a carelessly discarded match or cigarette ash dropping into furniture or being discarded into a trash container. Some facilities provide floor model ashtrays just outside their entrance for disposal of smoking materials. If they contain sand in which materials can be placed, they are relatively safe. However, types with opening metal tops can be an ideal place for a fire, since people tend to use the ashtray as a receptacle for their trash. Any regular ashtray may contain smoldering smoking materials and is best emptied into a toilet and flushed rather than into a wastebasket, which could later burst into flame. Fires can also be started by other causes. A defective outlet or frayed wires on any electrical appliance or office equipment could short out and start a fire. Coffee pots and water sterilizers can also boil dry and cause a fire. It is a good policy to unplug all electrical appliances whenever the office is closed. The office should have an established policy regarding the procedure to follow in case of fire. There should be a planned route of escape prominently posted. All patients as well as office staff must be evacuated from the building and the fire department notified. Exit signs should be clearly posted. All stairways and hallways should be free from clutter to allow quick, safe passage. When appropriate, knowing the location of the fire extinguisher and using it properly could prevent a fire from spreading. This knowledge should be everyone's responsibility. A severe weather warning is another event that requires an established policy. Natural disasters such as strong electrical storms and tornadoes are unpredictable and can claim lives if necessary. Steps are not taken. In these instances, people must remain inside and take shelter in the predetermined safest area. In areas where there is danger from earthquakes, it is wise to stand in door frames or beneath a sturdy structure. It may be dangerous to go outside where you could be struck by falling trees and buildings, or come into contact with downed power lines. Yet, remaining in a multi-story building may not be the safest policy either. People living in high-risk areas generally know the appropriate action to take. Electrical power is sometimes disrupted during such an emergency. Never use an elevator during a threatening situation because the power could go off, trapping everyone inside until power is restored or they are rescued. Large medical facilities may have electrical generators to provide emergency lighting during emergencies. Battery-powered lights should always be available and accessible. Routine fire and weather drills prepare people psychologically to act in a safe and responsible manner. A practical time to review drill procedures is at a staff meeting or during new employee orientation. Those who are prepared have a greater chance of surviving a crisis than those who do not know what to do or how to act. Keeping calm and confident in times of emergency helps to reduce panic and irrational behavior in oneself and others. It is not practical to decide at the time of such an emergency what to do with the patients and the staff. Each member of the office team should be assigned specific duties and know how to carry them out safely and efficiently. It is very important to clean up spilled liquids immediately. When the spill involves bodily fluids such as blood or urine, universal precautions must be observed by using gloves and placing materials in a biohazardous bag. Objects dropped on the floor must also be picked up immediately to prevent falls. Glass fragments are best picked up using a brush or broom and dustpan. Glass must be discarded in such a way that it will not puncture the plastic bag liner of the waste receptacle. This could accidentally cut someone's hands when it is removed. Fragments could be carefully wrapped in layers of newspaper, or placed inside empty cardboard or plastic containers before being deposited into the receptacle. Emergency phone numbers. A list of emergency phone numbers should be posted by the phone for quick access. Such numbers may include but are not limited to police, fire department, emergency service, poison control center, building security, utility companies, hospital emergency room, and a hospital admissions office. When an urgent situation arises, you don't want to have to search for phone numbers. Safety items. The installation of handrails in hallways and bathrooms within the office assists elderly and weak or motor impaired people in moving throughout the office with greater stability and a lower risk of falling. Be certain the floors are clear of any materials and that carpets are smooth and secured. Loose rugs are very dangerous, especially over tile or vinyl flooring. The medical assistant must always be on guard to be certain no one falls. Personal safety. All healthcare workers must practice universal precautions to protect themselves against acquiring HIV or hepatitis B infection. Caution. All patients should be considered infected because medical history and examination cannot reliably identify all patients infected with HIV or other blood-borne pathogens. Protection involves the use of appropriate barrier precautions to prevent skin and mucous membrane exposure during contact with any patient's blood or other body fluids. This means the appropriate use of gloves, face shields, masks, protective eyewear, and aprons and gowns as needed. Persons likely to be in an emergency also need to make use of mouthpieces, ventilation bags, and other ventilating devices in order to avoid direct contact with saliva or possible blood due to an injury. Precautions are identified later in this text as they become necessary within procedures. Look for the glove icon at the top of a procedure instruction. The increased incidences of crime make security a prime concern. A criminal may think a physician's office has cash from daily receipts or from people in the office. such as employees or patients, and decide to commit a robbery. There is also the concept that large amounts of drugs are kept on site and could be easily attained. Unfortunately, sexual assault can also occur when the interior office is accessible from the reception area. In order to provide a degree of security, police recommend that doors between these areas be equipped with snap locks to prevent unwanted entry. Also, any opening between the two areas, such as a window, should be covered with a grill if it is possible to climb through it. This author knows of an incident when an intruder crawled through the reception room window and assaulted a nurse who was working alone in an office. If there are private entry doors, be certain they are kept locked at all times. If you must enter or leave the office after dark, be especially alert. The outside area should be well lit. If building security people are available, ask for an escort. Many offices today are equipped with electronic security systems. If you are the first staff member to arrive at work, it will be necessary to enter the code before opening the door, or enter the code on an internal keypad before the entrance delay expires. Both these systems lend a feeling of safety and security, but be aware, it only takes a few seconds for someone to grab your purse or force you to hand over office money or drugs. Never enter the office if there is evidence of forced entry, or if it appears that someone might either be inside or has been inside. Leave and call building security or the police at once. Complete. Chapter 4. Unit 1 in the workbook, to help you meet the objectives at the beginning of this unit and therefore achieve competency in this subject matter. Unit 2. Efficient office design. Objectives. Upon completion of the unit, meet the following terminal performance objectives by verifying knowledge of the facts and principles presented through oral and written communication at a level deemed competent. 1. Explain what an efficient office design is and why it is important. Efficient office design refers to the layout and organization of a workspace that maximizes productivity, safety, and accessibility. It is important because it enhances workflow, reduces stress, and improves employee satisfaction. Answer. An efficient office design is a layout that maximizes productivity, safety, and accessibility, and it's important because it enhances workflow, reduces stress, and improves employee satisfaction. 2. Discuss the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990 regarding a public facility. The Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990 requires public facilities to provide equal access to individuals with disabilities. It mandates modifications to physical structures, policies, and practices to accommodate people with disabilities. Answer. The Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990 requires public facilities to provide equal access to individuals with disabilities by modifying physical structures, policies, and practices. 3. Design an office setting that includes provisions for those with physical disabilities, wheelchair-accessible entrances and pathways, adaptive equipment, e.g., braille signs, adjustable desks, accessible restrooms, and break rooms. Answer. An office setting with provisions for those with physical disabilities includes wheelchair-accessible entrances, adaptive equipment, and accessible restrooms and break rooms. 4. In a facility that was not originally designed to provide for persons with disabilities, describe the steps that should be taken to remedy this situation. Conduct an accessibility assessment. Develop a plan for modifications. Implement changes, e.g., install ramps, widen doorways. Answer. To remedy a facility not designed for persons with disabilities, conduct an accessibility assessment, develop a plan, and implement changes like installing ramps or widening doorways. 5. List ways for dealing with disabled persons effectively and considerately. Communicate clearly and respectfully. Offer assistance without being intrusive. Be patient and flexible. Answer. Ways to deal with disabled persons effectively and considerately include communicating clearly, offering assistance without being intrusive, and being patient and flexible. 6. Explain where to obtain information for persons who have a disability. Disability organizations, e.g., National Disability Rights Network, government resources like 8A website, online forums and support groups. Answer. Information for persons with disabilities can be obtained from disability organizations, government resources, and online forums. Words to know. Anticipation. The act of looking forward to something. Some braille system. A writing system for blind people using raised dots. Communicable diseases. Diseases that can be spread from one person to another. Contamination. The presence of unwanted substances or organisms. Cultivate. To promote or improve something. Design. A plan or drawing for a building or structure. Disability. A physical or mental condition that limits a person's abilities. Feasible. Possible or practical. Handicap. A physical or mental limitation. Implementation. The act of putting a plan into action. Insomnia. The inability to sleep. Mandate. An official order or requirement. Pantomime. Acting without words. Signer. A person who signs something, especially a document. Triage area. An area where people are sorted according to the urgency of their needs. In a medical facility where patients are treated for sickness, disorders, injuries, and a variety of illnesses, safety and well-being should always be the primary concern. In providing care for those who come in and out of the office daily, many things must be considered, including the design of the facility. Quality care begins long before patients come in for appointments to see the physician. Each medical facility is the result of long hours of planning and anticipating the needs of all who frequent the premises. Designing the medical facility to accommodate the disabled. The original blueprint of the facility contains the basic floor plan. Several considerations are necessary for the plan to become feasible. The Americans with Disabilities Act. According to the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA of 1990, all public facilities must be accessible to all persons with physical disabilities handicaps. All offices, clinics, medical centers, and the like, constructed before 1990, that were not already designed to accommodate persons with physical disabilities, had to be updated to comply with this federal mandate. The mandate stated that these public facilities must be adapted so that persons with disabilities and those in wheelchairs could easily and safely enter and exit buildings, reach door handles to open and close doors, travel from floor to floor, so elevators are a must for buildings that have more than one floor, proceed through hallways and doorways, use phones, drinking fountains and restrooms, and all else that the general population is free to do in public places, so that the disabled could enter any public facility. Every facility must be altered, if not already designed to accommodate all persons. Ramps must be permanent so that those in wheelchairs can have access to buildings without assistance. Provisions must be included for disabled persons regarding reception area, examination and treatment rooms, and all other areas including workstations and restrooms. Those architectural barriers that prevent the disabled from entering public facilities must be eliminated according to many state and federal laws. It is wise to check the regulations governing this matter in your area, accommodating the needs of hearing and vision impaired patients. For persons with hearing and vision impairment, accommodations must also be made. The Braille system must be provided for the blind to give them instructions and information for directions and identification of their whereabouts. If this is not possible, office staff must escort the person to and from the facility and give appropriate instructions verbally to assist them in getting around safely. Those who are hearing impaired need to have a signer, sign language interpreter, available to communicate their needs, or else they must face the person speaking so that they can read their lips. When speaking to a hearing-impaired patient, stand in the light so the person reading your lips can see well enough without straining. There should not be anything in your mouth, such as gum or food, when speaking. Taking it slower than a normal conversation may also be helpful for the person. Using gestures and pantomime can be of great assistance too. Body language and appearance are additionally important. It should be noted that one should talk directly to the deaf person, rather than to the interpreter, just as one should speak directly to anyone with a disability, and not just to the persons accompanying them. It is appropriate to ask questions necessary for adequate health care, but personal questions are inappropriate. Employees with disabilities must also be considered with the same respect and attention. Note: when talking to patients, regardless of the disability, it is important to be aware of your physical presence in relation to theirs. When talking to someone who is confined to a wheelchair for any length of time, it is considerate to sit so that your eye level is the same as theirs, so the person does not have to keep looking up to hold a conversation with you. This position, as you can imagine, would be quite uncomfortable for a prolonged period of time. Planning the layout of a general practice. The reception area should have comfortable but supportive seating, spaced to accommodate both individuals and groups. For a general practice, the area where patients are received should accommodate all ages and help them to feel at ease. Most offices supply children with safe plastic toys that can be washed after use. Soft colors which are warm and simplistic are the most appealing. Proper ventilation and moderate temperature are necessary for comfort. Lighting should be varied for those who wish to sit quietly, as well as for those who would like to read while they wait for their appointments. Background music that is instrumental is most appropriate. Music soothes the soul and helps one to relax. Reading material for all ages should be available in the reception area for patients waiting to see the physician. Figure 4 through 6 is an example of a layout for a general practice clinic. Notice the traffic flow from the entrance to the exit as a patient travels through the entire facility. Specific assistance should be provided for patients with particular needs. Figure 4 through 7. Using this design as a reference, follow the traffic flow of office staff, patients, and others who visit the facility. Efficient office design allows for the traffic pattern to flow without retracing steps to eliminate unnecessary walking for the employees and others alike. It also yields to the patient a feeling of expediently advancing through the facility. A well-planned layout allows people to enter the facility and proceed with whatever may be necessary. Therefore, time seems to pass more quickly. Often, patients feel as though they are in a medical facility for a lot longer than they really are. Waiting to see the physician or for results of a test can seem like forever. When patients are detained in the facility, either before or after their examination with the physician, because of a temporary backup in the schedule, they especially appreciate having their needs met in an orderly fashion. Being called into the triage area, progressing to an exam room, having lab tests performed, having preliminary exam/health history information taken, receiving treatment/medication, receiving patient education provided, etc. If attention is given to the patient to make the time go faster, then the patient is more likely to be satisfied. Facility layout has a lot to do with how work patterns flow. If a medical facility has no available waiting area for very ill patients, and everyone sick and healthy must stay together in the reception area, it makes for an uncomfortable situation. All patients waiting for appointments are at risk of exposure to communicable diseases. However, if the facility has an interior reception area for those who are very ill, the sick patient can be removed from the general reception area as soon as they arrive. The ideal design would have a central reception area with access through 2 doors, one for well and ambulatory patients, and another, wheelchair width, that opens automatically for those who are very ill. With this design, the contagious and more acutely ill patients would not come in contact with those who are not really ill, those for checkups, rechecks, etc. The healthy patients could then avoid coming into contact with an additional illness during their well visit. Of course, a medical facility does not have to be huge with many rooms in order to be efficient. Efficiency has to do with many points. The management of the schedule is a vital part of a practice. Scheduling will be discussed in length in Chapter 6. What is important to keep in mind is the relationship between office design layout and schedule, and how they affect each other. Understanding the flow process is essential for efficient use of time and space. Once the staff realizes this fact and makes the proper adjustments, implementation of efficiency practices is possible. A general practice scenario. Follow. Figures are the following scenario to see how these factors can work together for optimum efficiency. This example shows small numbers, representing patients and office staff, from the point of entry throughout their completed office visit. The physician and 3 full-time staff members are beginning their day of providing healthcare to patients in a general practice facility. Patient number 1, who is scheduled for a complete physical examination, enters the general reception area, places belongings on the coat rack, reports to the receptionist's window, and takes a seat in the reception area. Patient number 2 enters shortly thereafter and does the same as patient number 1. Patient number 1 is called into the clinical area and escorted by a clinical medical assistant. A-1 to the triage area where a health history is taken. While this is taking place, patient number 2 waits a few more minutes, uses the restroom, and returns to the reception area. Patient number 1 is then shown to the CPE room and prepared to see the physician. Patient number 3 is a sick child with a high fever and rash who is brought into the reception area and placed on a chair near the door, while the parent reports their arrival to the receptionist. The clinical medical assistant. A-1 is alerted by the receptionist and calls patient number 3 into the inner reception area. Triage and assessment are done for the child, and the physician is informed that the child is ready to be examined in the ill patient exam room. Patient number 4 enters the general reception area. Patient number 4 needs a dressing change for a burn by the clinical medical assistant. Patient number 2 is taken to the clinical area for triage and assessment by clinical medical assistant A-2. Where it is determined that he needs an ECG for follow-up care of a hospitalization for a heart attack that occurred a few weeks earlier. The physician reads the ECG and discusses the results with the patient. He makes an appointment for a recheck in 4 weeks and leaves the office. The part-time medical assistant arrives at the rear entrance, clocks in, and puts her belongings in the staff room. She then proceeds to the appointment desk to assess the patient flow and begins her duties of preparing patients. She calls patient number 4 into the second exam room on the left. The doctor checks the progress of the burn. The MA dresses it, and the patient leaves the office after making another appointment and a payment on the account. Patient number 5 enters the general reception area, reports to the receptionist that she is here for a check of her medications for diabetes and hypertension, and sits down in the reception area. Patient number 6 enters the general reception area coughing, sneezing, and feverish. The physician is called to see this sick patient. He is treated and leaves the office. Patient number 4 is escorted back to the treatment room for a dressing change. The physician examined and treated the sick child first, then examined patient number 1 and ordered an ECG, chest X-ray, and lab tests. Following these. Chapter 4. The Office Environment. 59 procedures. Patient number 1 stopped at the receptionist's desk and made a return visit appointment before leaving. The parent of the sick child took care of the charges incurred by the child's visit, made a check appointment for the following week, and exited through the same door they had entered. The child was only in the far end of the general reception room and the inner reception room for a very brief period. The parent was able to leave the child in the exam room for a short time while the business was handled, and then the child was taken home. Then enters adolescent patient number 7 with a knee injury. The receptionist sees her across the room and reports her arrival to clinical medical assistant A-2, who calls her in through the door near the drinking fountain. She helps patient number 7 to the inner reception area to await the physician's exam for a possible X-ray of the knee. The doctor examines the patient, orders an X-ray, and the patient is treated and leaves the office, following a stop at the desk for a return appointment in 2 weeks. Patient number 5 has a glucose test and is checked by the doctor after weight and blood pressure are measured. She stops at the desk to pay her bill, makes another appointment, and leaves the office. Patient number 8, who has had problems with stress and insomnia, enters and speaks to the receptionist. The MA takes her to the physician's office for a consultation appointment. Another appointment is made at the reception desk before patient number 8 leaves. Patient number 9 arrives, sits, and is silent. The receptionist greets the patient, calls him to the desk, and asks quietly what he is to see the doctor for today. She is told that he has been having headaches and made the appointment with the physician over the phone the night before. This patient is escorted to the last room on the left for an examination. The doctor refers him to a neurologist, and he stops at the desk for the appointment to be made by the receptionist. Child. Patient number 10 enters and reports at the reception desk that she is here for her allergy shot. The clinical medical assistant, A-1, is notified. The child is brought in for the injection and requested to wait 20 minutes for observation. At the end of the time period, there are no problems noted, and the patient leaves the office. Patient number 11 enters the waiting room and reports directly to the receptionist, complaining of nausea. Clinical medical assistant, A-2, is notified immediately and calls the patient into the inner reception area through the door near the water fountain. The restroom is directly across from the reception area for the patient's convenience and comfort. The doctor sees this patient and he leaves. Patient number 12 enters the reception area and reports to the receptionist. The patient has a badly burned hand sustained at work the previous evening. The receptionist calls the patient to the window and begins obtaining information regarding the injury. Clinical medical assistant, A-1, takes the patient to the exam treatment room, and so on daily, until all patients are examined and treated and the business is settled. As you follow the number patterns on the floor of the layout of the facility, you can see that most of the steps taken by both the patients and the staff are minimal. This is, of course, the goal of the designer for maximum efficiency. Infection control is more easily attained by keeping those who may be contagious in basically one area of the office. Necessary equipment and supplies should be within a few steps of where they will be used. Anticipation of needed supplies is an art and skill that needs to be cultivated by those who prepare patients to see the physician. This is most beneficial to the physician and the patient, as it saves time and reduces stress for both parties. Knowing what is or might be necessary for a patient before the physician sees the patient is the most efficient way to handle traffic flow. Sometimes, of course, this is not possible. Also, the office policy and protocol of the facility will certainly be a factor in whether procedures are performed or not. Additionally, financial coverage of medical care must also be a consideration. Many procedures must be pre-authorized for payment to be insured. Seeing as many patients as possible in a day will bring in the greatest amount of revenue. If the day's patient flow of the schedule gets backed up too often, it can result in a decline in the return of patients to the medical facility. Even though it is not the most pleasant thought, the consideration that medical practice is a business is a reality. Time is money, and patients in volume bring financial success to the office. When the flow of traffic goes well, so does the workforce that contributes to this success. The old saying, "in one door and out another brings more company," is a good thing in this arena. Having a person received in the reception area, entering an exam room for treatment, and then stopping at the appointment desk, settling payment, and exiting is a very efficient way to design traffic of the patient staff flow. As you continue to learn about medical assisting, you will be able to understand the effects of design layout in relation to patient care and how it personally affects your work. In Unit 4 of this chapter, ergonomics will be discussed. This topic is important because it will help you to realize the importance of the work environment in relation to yourself. Complete. Chapter 4, Unit 2 in the workbook. To help you meet the objectives at the beginning of this unit, and therefore achieve competency of this subject matter. Unit 3, Office Management Equipment. The medical assistant may be responsible for the operation of many pieces of business equipment in the process of performing administrative duties. A variety of office machines contribute to the efficiency of an office. Some are rather simple, while others can be quite complicated, requiring specialized training and practice to master. This unit identifies a variety of equipment that would be found in a medical practice. Unit 3, Office Management Equipment. Objectives. Upon completion of the unit, meet the following terminal performance objectives by verifying knowledge of the facts and principles presented through oral and written communication at a level deemed competent, and demonstrate the specific behaviors as identified in the terminal performance objectives of the procedures. Observing safety precautions in accordance with healthcare standards. 1. Demonstrate the use of a calculator, used for mathematical computations in billing, payroll, and financial records. Enter numbers and functions correctly to ensure accurate results. Answer. The use of a calculator is demonstrated by performing mathematical computations for billing, payroll, and financial records, entering numbers and functions correctly. 2. Explain why a check writer is used. To imprint the dollar amount on checks to prevent alteration. To provide security and authenticity for financial documents. Answer. A check writer is used to imprint the dollar amount on checks to prevent alteration and to provide security and authenticity for financial documents. 3. Demonstrate the use of a check writer. Insert the check into the machine. Set the correct dollar amount and activate the imprinting function. Answer. The use of a check writer is demonstrated by inserting the check, setting the correct dollar amount, and activating the imprinting function. 4. List 7 types of material that are often photocopied. Medical records, insurance forms, referral letters, lab reports, consent forms, patient instructions, billing statements. Answer. 7 types of material often photocopied are medical records, insurance forms, referral letters, lab reports, consent forms, patient instructions, and billing statements. 5. Demonstrate the use of a copy machine. Place the document on the glass or in the feeder. Select the number of copies and press Start. Answer. The use of a copy machine is demonstrated by placing the document on the glass or in the feeder, selecting the number of copies, and pressing Start. 6. Give 2 reasons why records are microfilmed. To save storage space. To preserve records for long-term retention. Answer. 2 reasons. Records are microfilmed are to save storage space and to preserve records for long-term retention. 7. Explain when dictation on a tape should be saved. When the information is part of the legal medical record. When required by office policy or regulation. Answer. Dictation on a tape should be saved when the information is part of the legal medical record or when required by office policy or regulation. 8. Demonstrate the operation of a transcriber. Insert the dictation tape or digital file. Use the foot pedal and headphones to listen and type the document. Answer. The operation of a transcriber is demonstrated by inserting the dictation tape or digital file and using the foot pedal and headphones to listen and type the document. 9. Discuss the primary advantage of a word processor over a typewriter. Allows editing, saving, and correcting text without retyping the entire document. Increases efficiency and reduces errors. Answer. The primary advantage of a word processor over a typewriter is that it allows editing, saving, and correcting text without retyping the entire document, which increases efficiency and reduces errors. 10. Define all the computer terms listed in the unit. See words to know section below. Answer. All computer terms listed in the unit are defined in the words to know section. 11. List 4 items known as computer hardware. Monitor, keyboard, central processing unit, printer. Answer. 4 items known as computer hardware are the monitor, keyboard, central processing unit, and printer. 12. Explain why backing up computer data is necessary. To prevent loss of information due to system failure, power outage, or accidental deletion. To ensure data can be recovered for legal and operational needs. Answer. Backing up computer data is necessary to prevent loss of information due to system failure, power outage, or accidental deletion, and to ensure data can be recovered for legal and operational needs. 13. Demonstrate the basic operation of a computer. Power on the system, log in, open programs, save files, and shut down properly. Answer. The basic operation of a computer is demonstrated by powering on the system, logging in, opening programs, saving files, and shutting down properly. Words to know. Acronym. A word formed from the first letters of other words. Calculator. A device used for mathematical calculations. Computer. An electronic device for storing and processing data. Dictation. The act of speaking for someone to write down or record. Electronic operated by electricity or electronic components. Hardware. The physical parts of a computer system. Maintenance contract. An agreement to provide upkeep and repair services. Microfiche, a flat sheet of microfilm containing pages of information. Microfilming, the process of photographing documents onto film at a reduced size. Payee, the person to whom money is paid. Processor, the part of a computer that performs calculations and operations. Programmed, set to operate in a specific way. Software, programs and operating information used by a computer. Technology, the application of scientific knowledge for practical purposes. Transcription, the act of converting spoken words into written text. A variety of machines and equipment is required to manage the business operation of a medical office. Large multi-physician offices and clinics have more employees, and therefore require a greater number and larger capacity of equipment. Smaller offices and single physician practices will likely have less specialized equipment, concentrating on the essentials primarily due to costs and limited operating personnel. The following material discusses the types of common office management equipment found in a medical practice. Calculator or adding machine. There are many occasions when an accurate calculation of figures is necessary. Some examples include the totaling of charges when preparing a patient's statement, submitting an insurance claim for services rendered, preparing banking deposits, and reconciling a banking statement. The summation of the daily log of receipts and charges is easier and more accurate when calculating equipment is used. Of course, care must be taken to enter the figures accurately, or the results will be incorrect. Note, when multiple items are listed, they are often shown as a single cost, which must be mathematically converted to the total price. This is especially important when checking the accuracy of invoices for ordered items. If the calculator produces a hard copy, the entries can be easily reviewed. If it displays the amount digitally in the LED window, each entry can be viewed for accurate keying when entered. But it would be wise to also repeat the calculation to see if you get the same answer twice. A simple 10-key calculator, with a few additional function keys, is adequate for general office management. Figure 4-12. Calculators are powered by various size batteries, electricity, or even light from the sun or a light bulb. Some models can use either electricity or a battery. The term adding machine was used before the era of electronics and refers to equipment that performs many of the same functions, but is probably older, larger, and may operate manually without the aid of any power. Adding machines and printing calculators, procedure 4-1, use a roll of narrow paper upon which the numbers are printed, similar to what you receive from the grocery store. Procedure 4-1. Total charges on calculator. Purpose: to accurately total and record a list of numbers using a calculator. Equipment: calculator, a list of 20 charges to be calculated, an invoice or ledger card, pen or pencil. Terminal performance objective: provided with necessary equipment and materials, calculate a list of 20 charges, performing any necessary mathematical functions, and correctly determine the total amount. The same correct answer must be obtained twice within a maximum of 3 attempts. 1 turn on calculator. 2 clear machine key point. The digital display window or printed tape gives visual evidence that the machine is cleared. 3. Enter figures to be calculated and perform mathematical functions. 4. Total fees. 5. Double-check tape or refigure on digital display to be sure you get the same answer twice. 6. Record total. The copy machine is extremely important to the efficiency of the office, figure 4-13. A photocopy of a correspondence, an insurance form, a patient's record, laboratory reports, or account information is often needed. Procedure 4-2. Most machines can be set to use either letter or legal-size paper. Frequently, prepared literature, information sheets, initial information forms, and so on will require copying. Newer models can produce color copies which greatly enhance information materials. Some offices may use the copier for monthly billing. The accounting record is copied, folded, and inserted into an envelope and mailed, thereby eliminating the preparation of a separate statement. Remember, the copier is not for your personal use. Generally, if the equipment is owned, you will be permitted to make a few copies if necessary. Some machines are leased and have attached counters that record the number of times the camera flashes making copies. Offices are charged a rate reflective of their usage. With this arrangement, use of the copier is restricted. Note: care should be taken to avoid copying material that carries copyright protection, as this is considered illegal unless permission to copy is obtained from the writer or publisher. Routine maintenance will improve the quality of copies made. Offices should have service arrangements with suppliers of equipment and copy materials. Service representatives can demonstrate cleaning of the glass, feed rollers and surfaces, and show you how to maintain the toner. Large copiers can be programmed to perform several functions such as enlarging or reducing copy size, stapling, sorting, offset stacking, one- or two-sided copying, and insertion of cover sheets. A properly operating copier can produce a great variety of materials and is a valuable asset to the physician's office. Procedure 4-2. Operate copy machine. Purpose: to accurately prepare settings on a copy machine to produce a duplicate of the original in the size, number, and order desired. Equipment: copy machine, paper, and material to be copied. Terminal performance objective: given access to necessary equipment and supplies, demonstrate adjustment of settings to produce the specified copy or copies while operating the copy machine accurately following the steps in the procedure. 1. Assemble material to be copied. 2. Determine the number of copies needed. Rationale: you usually make one file copy of every letter you send. If copies are to be sent with the letter, you need additional copies. B. 2 copies of most medical legal reports are needed. C. If you are making copies of instruction sheets for patients, copy enough for a month's use at one time. 3. Turn on the copy machine. Note: some offices leave the machine on all the time because it requires a warm-up period before it can be used. If this is not your office policy, turn the machine off when finished. 4. Adjust settings for what you want to copy. Note: legal or letter-size paper. Regular copy, lighter, darker may be adjusted on some machines. Regular, reduced, or enlarged copy. Number of copies. 5. Check paper supply. Rationale: assure adequate supply. Some machines will jam when the supply becomes too low. Also check the paper type. The last person using the copier may have used colored paper, a different size, or letterhead paper. 6. Raise the lid and place the material to be copied, one sheet at a time, face down on the glass. Note: on self-feeding models, place material on the feeder tray. If more than one page, arrange in proper order. 7. Close lid. 8. Press the button or the keypad to activate the copier. 9. Remove original or originals and copier copies. Remove special paper if used from the supply. 10. Return the machine to standard settings if changed. 11. Turn off the machine if policy. The medical assistant may need to be familiar with the microfilming process. Microfilming is a method of preserving material by reducing it to minute film images. Microfilming of office records can provide the necessary record security while using a minimum of storage space. The machine is easy to operate. The microfilm documents may be read at any time with the use of a microfilm reader. In seconds, the reader printer can provide a hard copy of microfiche material printed on plain bond paper. You may find that some patients will present an insurance card that needs to be read with the help of a microfilm reader printer. Dictation-transcription machine. The most common units to be used in the physician's office are the desktop machines, figure 4-16. Several kinds of units are available: a unit for dictation only, a unit for transcription only, or a combination unit that can be used for both purposes. Many physicians use a portable dictating machine, which can be operated by battery or electricity. The physician may use this machine in the office, in the car, at home, or while attending meetings. The medical assistant can help the physician use the equipment more efficiently by tactfully discussing any problems encountered while transcribing. Tell the physician when the dictation is good. If you're experiencing difficulties due to dictation or mechanical reasons, explain the problem precisely and offer specific solutions. Sometimes a list of helpful hints to improve dictation and reduce the chance of error can be used to help both the physician and the transcriptionist. The list might include the following. 1. Check the machine to be sure it is recording. 2. Indicate date and what is being dictated, chart note, letter, research paper, report, and so on. 3. Recognize that you are talking to a person through the 4. Dictate the name of the patient and the name of the person or firm who will be the recipient of the message. 5. Dictate the street address, city, state, and zip code to which correspondence is to be sent and the number of copies needed. 6. Dictate punctuation such as period, comma, or para. 7. Encourage the physician to refrain from eating, drinking, or listening to loud music or television while the dictation is being done. 8. Speak in a normal, clear voice. 9. End with an appropriate message to indicate the dictation is completed. The machine which is carried out of the office must be kept in operating order at all times. You never know when the physician will put it to use. When it is in the office, check to be certain it is ready for use. Replace the batteries as needed, and maintain a supply of erase tapes for reuse. The transcription machine, Procedure 4-3, has a foot control that starts the machine. When the pedal is released, the machine stops. It also has a backup pedal that allows you to re-listen to the transcription if you need to hear it again before you transcribe. You will learn to press the pedal, listen, and then begin typing the sentences with a minimum of time. With practice and speed, you may be able to type and listen almost simultaneously. The machine has controls for automatic rewind and fast forward. The speed control can be adjusted to either slow down or speed up the voice message. The speed control should generally be adjusted for the normal voice quality of the physician making the dictation. If you are using a standard typewriter, transcription presents an additional challenge since the typed copy cannot be viewed prior to printing as with word processing equipment. Because you cannot judge the length of the message when you begin, it may be advisable to run the tape to determine its content before typing. You may also need to make an initial rough draft copy, setting your margins, headings, and tabs later according to the content involved. The word processor can be an electronic typewriter with the added features of fast daisy wheel printing, spelling checks, and spelling corrections similar to computer capabilities. These are equipped with insertable disk drive units for either line or an add-on screen display. This allows you to store text on a microfloppy disk for later use. They may also allow an auto-cut sheet feeder and tractor feeder to be added. Word processing software is available on almost all computers, desktop computers. Figure 417. These have functions such as automatic correction, adding or deleting words, centering, margin alignment, decimal tabs, column layout, automatic indent, and table features. Word processors offer special features such as word or single letter underline, boldface type, subscripts, and superscripts. Because you can visualize the copy on the screen and move words, lines, or paragraphs with special key functions, it is possible to proof the copy and to see a print view version on the screen before actually printing the document. Procedure 4-3, Operate Transcriber. Purpose: to operate transcriber equipment to produce a printed copy from recorded material. Equipment: transcriber, dictation tape, headset, foot control, a typewriter, word processor or computer, and paper. Terminal performance objectives: given access to equipment and supplies, operate the transcriber, correctly following all steps in the procedure. Complete an accurate transcription within a specified time period. 1 turn on the transcriber. 2. Verify that the headset with earphones and the foot control are attached to the unit. 3. Select tape. Rationale: type rush reports or the oldest dictation first. 4. Adjust headset with earphones. Note: earphones should not be shared. Rationale: prevents the spread of organisms. 5. Insert tape. Press the play tab or the pedal to listen to the beginning of the dictation. 6. Listen for physician's instructions. Note: the material to be typed will guide you in selecting the appropriate paper. It may be a chart note, a report, or a letter requiring letterhead paper. 7. Adjust volume, tone, and speed controls for the clearest communication reception. 8. Set typewriter or computer margins and tabulator stops. 9. Insert paper in the typewriter, or bring up a blank screen on the computer and type the recorded information. 10. Alternately press and release the foot pedal to listen to and transcribe the recorded message. Note: consult a dictionary if a word is unfamiliar. If you are unable to understand a word or words, leave a blank. Note the place on the tape, and ask someone else to listen. If necessary, ask the dictating physician for assistance so you can complete the work. 11. Turn off the machine and place accessory items in the proper storage space. 12. Save the dictation on the tape. Rationale: in case questions should arise before the physician will approve the report or sign the letter. 13. Erase the tape following the report, approval, or the signature of the physician on the letter, so it can be used again. In a text titled Computer Fundamentals for an Information Age, authors Shelley and Cashman define a computer as follows. A computer is an electronic device, operating under the control of instructions stored in its own memory unit, which can accept and store data, perform arithmetic and logical operations on that data without human intervention, and produce output from the processing. Computers come in a variety of makes, styles, sizes, capacities, and price ranges. However, they all perform about the same way. Some can be carried like a small notebook. Others are large, designated primary network machines. Many have the capacity to convey sound, and some are capable of responding to voice commands. Computer technology advances so rapidly that those last two statements will seem outdated by the time this book is published. This device has changed the way information is processed and stored. An individual with computer skills can be a valuable employee, but, with technology constantly changing, it is necessary to update and learn new applications almost continuously. It would be wise to take every opportunity possible to acquire additional skills. Physicians are aware of the advantages of using computers in the office. Large clinics often have direct line insurance reporting by computer. The necessary information is programmed into the clinic computer and travels directly to the insurance company computers. This eliminates paperwork, and the speed of processing claims is enhanced considerably. Computer terms: with the development of the computer came a whole new vocabulary of technical terms as well as new meanings for old words. In order to communicate with other users, it is important to understand and use the language. The following are some of the most commonly used terms relating to the computer and its components. Become familiar with them quickly. And backup - a duplicate of data files made to protect information. Records should be backed up daily. Some experts recommend twice daily. Batch - an accumulation of data to be processed. Boot - to start up a computer. A bug - an error in a program. Catalog - a list of files on the storage media. CD - ROM - compact, disk, read - only memory. The term that indicates the computer is capable of playing compact disks. Characters per second, used to measure printer output. CPU, central processing unit, or the brain of the system. The memory is made up of bits. A bit is a single binary digit. Binary refers to a situation in which there are only two choices. For example, yes, no, on, off, pass, fail. A digit refers to a single number. A bit is either 0 or 1. A byte is the fundamental group of bits that a computer will treat as a word. A byte consists of 8 bits. A 16-bit processor is twice as fast as an 8-bit processor. 1K is equal to 1024 bytes. A 64-K computer can handle 65,536 bytes. The greater the number of bytes, the greater the memory. N cursor - a marker on the screen that shows where the next letter, number, or symbol will be placed. It may be an underline, a dash, or a blinking rectangle or square. A data - information that can be processed or produced by a computer. Debugging - finding errors and correcting them in computer programs. Disk - a magnetic storage device made of rigid material or flexible plastic. Floppy disk. A disk drive - the device used to get information on and off a disk. A DOS - disk operating system, a program that tells the computer how to use the disk drive. Matrix printer - a printer that uses dots to form letters and numbers. A downtime - a period of lost work time during which a computer is not operating or is malfunctioning because of a machine failure. Electronic mail - the transmission of letters, messages, or memos from one computer to another over telephone lines. External memory - recording on floppy disks. File - a single stored unit of information that is given a file name so it can be accessed. Font - a family or assortment of characters of a given size or style. A GB - gigabyte, approximately 1 billion bytes. Hard copy - the readable paper copy or printout of information.
Hardware - the electronic, magnetic, and electromechanical equipment of a computer system. Keyboard, disk drive, monitor, and printer.
Initialize - to prepare a diskette to receive data. This is usually referred to as formatting the disk. Input - data processed from peripheral equipment into the machine via the keyboard or the floppy disk for internal storage. Interface - the hardware and software that enable individual computers and components to interact.
K - computer shorthand for 1024 bytes, a term used to measure computer memory capacity.
Keyboard - an input device resembling a typewriter keyboard that converts keystrokes into electrical signals, which are displayed on the screen as words or symbols. Kilobyte - 1000 bytes, main memory - the internal memory of the computer.
Megabyte - approximately 1,000,000 bytes.
1,048,576 bytes to be more exact. Memory - data is held in storage. Menu - display of available machine functions for selection by the operator. Microcomputer - a self-contained computer system that uses a microprocessor as the central processing unit.
Often called a desktop or personal computer, also known as a PC,
has limited capacity for internal memory. Microprocessor - a single chip where the computer computes. Mini-computer - a computer significantly smaller in size, capacity, and software capability than its larger mainframe counterparts. Modem - modulator / DE modulator. A peripheral device that enables a computer to communicate with other computers or terminals over normal telephone lines.
Monitor - a visual display unit with a screen called a cathode - ray tube, CRT. Mouse - a hand - held computer input device separate from a keyboard, used to control cursor position on a VDT, video display terminal.
Output - what the computer produces after recorded information is processed, revised, and printed out. Peripheral - anything you plug into a computer. For example, a printer, a disk drive, a CRT terminal, or a printer. Printer - a device that produces hard copy. It may be dot matrix, letter quality, or laser. Program - a set of instructions written in a computer language, prompting - messages issued to a user requesting information necessary to continue processing. RAM - acronym for Random Access Memory. This is temporary or programmable memory. You can put new information into RAM. When you turn off the computer, this memory is gone. ROM - acronym for Read-Only Memory. This is permanent memory. You cannot put new information into ROM. It has been determined by the computer manufacturer. Scrolling - moving the cursor up, down, right, or left through information on a computer display to view information otherwise not visible. Security code - a code. The operator must enter before the procedure may be completed. Used to prevent unauthorized access to data in the system. Software - computer programs, necessary to direct the hardware of a computer system, performs specific tasks. Terminal - a device used to communicate with a computer, usually a keyboard and monitor. Terminals depend on the main, host computer for their abilities. An office may have several terminals and a host computer physically removed from any of them. Write - protect - process or code that prevents overwriting of data or programs on a disk. Input into a computer is by means of a keyboard, very much like that on a typewriter. There are additional keys to give you expanded capability. You do not need to be an expert on computer technology or programming to make good use of a computer. Any computer, like a typewriter, will occasionally require service. When this becomes necessary, contact is made with the supplier's service department, and arrangements are made. Usually, a faulty system component must be taken in for service. Large business central systems will be serviced on site. When discussing computers, reference is made to hardware and software. The hardware refers to the hard disk drive, the CPU, the monitor, and the keyboard. Software is the programs containing instructions to the computer that enable it to perform tasks. You interact with the software to produce correspondence, maintain records, calculate financial statements, and perform many other tasks. Software is available on disks to be transferred to the computer's hard drive. A great deal of software is now available on CD-ROM. When you input data with a software program, you can enter it into the memory and store it on the hard drive or on a floppy disk inserted into the disk drive. Floppy disks are usually covered with hard plastic and are 3½ inch in size. This hard type is preferred and more durable. Figure 418 provides guidelines for handling floppy disks. Disks come in different capacities and densities to match different hardware. The information stored on a disk is called a file. It is necessary to assign a code to information to be saved in a file so that it may be called up from the storage disk by using the code. Computer manufacturers usually provide basic software programs that are compatible with the hardware. Many companies design special software programs for use with specific computers. A computer is useless without the software instructions for accessing and inputting data. The main storage component for a computer is its hard drive, an oxide-coated metal platter that is sealed inside a housing to ensure dust-free operation. The hard drive can store enormous amounts of information, which can be retrieved almost immediately. PCs store their software programs as well as input data on their hard drive. In offices with several workstations, the individual computer or terminals can be networked with a service or mainframe computer. This central unit will contain the software programs and the databanks of information to be shared in the office. Each terminal can access information from the central computer, thereby freeing up hard drive space at each workstation. A properly networked system permits input and updating of records from all stations and allows the information to be accessed from all stations. Electrical surges and power outages can destroy information currently being used by the computer if it has not yet been saved by the operator or automatically by the program. This is most likely to occur during a severe storm. Loss of data, due to electrical surges and power outages, can be prevented by the installation of a protective device known as an uninterrupted power supply, UPS. UPS contains a battery backup system that is capable of sensing a surge or outage and automatically switches to a backup battery to preserve the data. The size of the battery determines the length of time the equipment can be sustained. The prime purpose is to allow you time to save your document, exit the program, and shut down your system until the power is again stable. It is very important to establish a backup policy to make copies of Office programs and data. Often this is performed each night. Data on the hard drives of individual PCs can be copied onto floppy disks if the data is not too extensive. Computer hard drives can crash, causing the loss of all programs and stored data. Programs and extensive data can be copied by a tape backup device, which is a peripheral to the computer, thereby providing a durable copy of information. All central computer data should be backed up on tape daily. Some offices may even contract to have materials backed up in an off-site facility to protect against loss of files from fire or natural disaster. Computer printers. To produce a hard copy, you must have a printer. Printers may be equipped with a single-sheet feeder or a tractor feeder that automatically advances the paper. 3 types of printers are appropriate for a medical office: dot matrix, inkjet, or laser. The dot matrix produces print made up of pinhead dots and can produce near letter quality printing. Depending on the type of printer you have, you may set draft mode, and the printer will print more than twice as fast as it does in letter quality mode. For example, one popular model prints 180 characters per second in draft mode and 60 characters per second in letter quality. The print wheel in most cases will be bidirectional, prints from left to right and right to left, as this offers more speed. The letter quality printers may have many print styles built in, and more can be loaded into the printer. Inkjet printers produce letter quality copy by spraying letters onto the paper. A variety of type fonts allows great variation of print styles, and many interesting features can be added to your office's print communications. Laser printers are more expensive, but the print quality is comparable to typeset material. A toner cartridge inside the printer contains the printer's powered ink, material which produces the type or graphic images. The cartridge will last for approximately 4,000 pages of text. The laser can also have PostScript capability, which allows the infusion of many graphic applications to customize office correspondence, patient information sheets, reports, and professional papers. Use of computer software. Computer software capabilities are virtually limitless. Software companies are continually designing programs that make it possible to direct a computer to produce different prescribed outcomes. It takes anywhere from 12 to 24 months to research, write, and test a comprehensive software program. When the project is begun, the newest technology is used. By the time the project is completed and fully tested, the newest technology is now 2 years or more outdated. It is important to keep this in mind if you are in a position to recommend the use of specific software. Medical management software is available from many different companies. An example is the Medware program available from Computer Solutions. The software programs make it possible to keep patient information with no limit to the number of patients, except for the capacity of the computer memory. It provides information needed for billing such as primary and secondary insurance. It is easy to look up patient treatment or payment history, print patient mailing labels, phone listings, or set up a recall reminder system. The number of procedures and diagnosis codes that may be entered is limitless, Figure 421. The codes may be searched by number or by description. The computer program allows all posting charges and payments to be completed.
The input screen is modeled from the standard insurance form, HCFA 1500, Figure 422.
The program allows the medical assistant to input the necessary information and then push one key to print a completed insurance form. The information in the computer may be retrieved at any time. Reports can be prepared with a minimum of effort when data is regularly put into the computer. Accounts receivable may be printed by date or aging or alphabetically. Accounts receivable may be broken down between the insurance company and the patient. A detailed summary of income between two given dates may be easily prepared. The report of charges between any two dates may be accessed in detail or in summary. A day sheet can be easily prepared. Physicians may find a need for a statistical report of diagnosis and procedure code usage, which can be retrieved from the stored data. Reports can also be sorted and output by individual patient, physician, or insurance company. Figure 423 shows a new patient entry screen. This screen provides for the entry of account information for each patient or family group. All the data needed to properly bill the account is included. Note the ability to enter aged balance information for each account. This means that you can begin your computerized system with all accounts properly aged. Figure 424 illustrates the daily transactions entry screen. This is where all charge entries are done, as well as the entries for payments made at the time of service. Up to 5 entries may be made on each screen. During charge entry, a running total of the account is displayed at all times. When you have finished making entries for the patient, the account updates immediately. When you have finished your entries for each patient, you will be given the option of printing an insurance claim form, a patient statement, or both. Prompt billing of patients means faster payment, and efficient, accurate submission of claims means a higher payment ratio. Figure 4-25 is an example of a medical office daily transactions report, which shows charges and receipts for daily records. Figure 4-26 is an example of a utility menu screen. This screen gives you access to all the functions that let you set up and maintain the custom files to be used by the system, establish the format for your custom forms, and do the maintenance work to keep your system running efficiently. Among the files set up in the utility code are the procedure codes, diagnosis codes, provider, insurance company, hospital, and referring doctor. Once these files are established, the data in them is a keystroke away when the system is in use. For additional information on computer billing, see Chapter 8, Unit 4. These illustrations of computer screens are only a sampling of the many office procedures possible with computers. It is important to note that many of the software manufacturers make programs that are compatible with more than one brand of computer. Many of the software systems run on IBM or computers. My Systems Corporation has developed its own computer and the software for medical offices.
Healthcare Communications T makes software exclusively for Macintosh TM, SE. Some believe that in the future it will be common practice to use a handheld scanner, like those used in department stores, to scan the barcode on the patient charge slip, and thus automatically enter the code number of the procedure or illness and the service charge. This would eliminate the possibility of error in typing the figures into the computer. The computer should be useful for inventory control of office supplies, to personalize form letter mailings for collections, to reschedule annual checkups, and to gather research data. Some physicians find the computer essential if they are engaged in research and need to quickly identify all patients with a specific diagnosis. It is also valuable in the quick identification of patients taking a particular drug if the manufacturer should issue a warning about side effects. You may be involved in the use of a computer for patient education. This is similar to the television programs used by some offices. The medical assistant may load the programs into the computer, discuss with patients what they will see, and ascertain whether patients have further concerns after they complete the viewing. Information programs have been developed for diabetes, cancer, pregnancy, health hazards of smoking, and many other conditions. Most word processing software has a standard built-in dictionary that helps with spelling. Misspelled words are highlighted when the spell check is activated. You still must read carefully to be sure you typed the correct words for the message you wish to convey. You must be accurate in your proofreading. Medical dictionaries are also available as enhancements to the standard dictionary. Continuous letterheads and new continuous envelopes make your work much faster. There is no need for a typewriter to address envelopes. You have learned in this unit that using computers in medical offices can be extremely important in helping to complete your work. You should use any opportunity you have to practice with the computer. You should learn the vocabulary and how to read and understand an instruction manual.
You need to practice on a typewriter if a computer is not available so that you will have accurate keyboarding skills. All computer systems and word processors have instructions to help you utilize the equipment. Some are in the form of books, known as documentation, which are helpful references for both beginners and experienced operators. With large programs requiring much information, it will probably be available online or on a CD, which can be easily accessed from your screen. Most computer dealers offer basic training with the purchase of new equipment and provide pay-for instruction classes on the use of specific software applications for the general public. Many public schools and community colleges provide adult education classes, which are very beneficial. Procedure 4.4 discusses the operation of the office computer. Important steps in selecting a computer system. The medical assistant employed in the office planning to consider automation with computers will be able to look forward to the experience if there is an opportunity to take part in the planning. It is important to research the kinds of software available, the kinds of computers the software can be used with, the costs, how long the supplier has been in business, and the kinds of support offered after installation. A good source for this information is the Computer Talk Directory of Medical Computer Systems, which is published semi-annually by Computer Talk Associates Incorporated. 482 Norristown Road, Suite 112, Bluebell, PA 194222610-825-7686. There are hidden costs to consider. It will be necessary to provide electrical outlets at the areas where the computer terminals and printers will be located. The office will need desk space for both computers and printers. A maintenance contract should be available. Investigate the costs and availability of insurance to cover theft, natural disasters such as a tornado, and internal disasters such as fire or flood damage. Determine the availability and cost of a consultant to supervise the training of the office staff. It is always important to obtain cost estimates from at least 3 companies. The companies should also refer you to current users to help you determine the reliability of the software and hardware. Find out if the software company can furnish new formats when needed. When the physicians decide what they want to accomplish with the system and the costs have been obtained, a decision must be made as to whether the return will justify the cost. If the determination is made, the first task is to select software that will meet the needs of the office. It should meet the needs of the office in word processing, accounting, and office management, and should permit a database for research. The software can then be matched with a compatible computer system. Complete. Chapter 4. Unit 3 in the workbook to help you meet the objectives at the beginning of this unit, and therefore achieve competency of the subject matter. Unit 4. Ergonomics in the office. Objectives. Upon completion of the unit, meet the following terminal performance objectives by verifying knowledge of the facts and principles presented through oral and written communication at a level deemed competent. 1. Discuss ergonomics as it relates to the medical office. Answer. Ergonomics as it relates to the medical office is the study and design of the work environment to fit the physical needs of employees, which helps prevent injury, reduce fatigue, and increase efficiency in tasks like filing, typing, and patient care. 2. Explain the reasons for and the importance of including ergonomics in planning for any facility. Answer. The reasons for and the importance of including ergonomics in planning for any facility are to reduce work-related injuries, lower workers' compensation costs, decrease absenteeism, improve productivity, and create a safer and more comfortable environment for staff. 3. List the main concerns for employment sites regarding ergonomics. Answer. The main concerns for employment sites regarding ergonomics are proper workstation design, adjustable furniture and equipment, lighting and glare control, noise levels, posture and back support, and prevention of cumulative trauma disorders from repetitive tasks. 4. Discuss the use of light and color in regard to the medical office. Answer. The use of light and color in regard to the medical office involves providing adequate non-glare lighting to reduce eye strain and using soothing, neutral colors to create a calm atmosphere, improve visibility, and reduce patient and staff stress. 5. List ways to prevent problems related to repeated use of computers and VDTs. Answer. Ways to prevent problems related to repeated use of computers and VDTs are to use adjustable chairs and monitors, take frequent breaks, use wrist rests, position the screen at eye level to reduce neck strain, use glare screens, and practice proper keyboarding technique. 6. Explain the importance of adjustable components at a workstation.
Answer. The importance of adjustable components at a workstation is to allow each employee to fit the equipment to their individual body size and shape, which helps maintain proper posture, reduces muscle strain, and prevents cumulative trauma disorders.
7. Describe the relation between proper back support and posture.
Answer. The relation between proper back support and posture is that chairs with lumbar support
Help maintain the natural curve of the spine, promote upright sitting posture, reduce lower back stress, and prevent fatigue and injury during long periods of sitting. 8. Discuss the importance of noise control.
Answer. The importance of noise control is to reduce distractions, lower stress levels,
Protect employee hearing, maintain patient confidentiality, and improve concentration and communication in the medical office. 9. Spell and define, using the glossary in the back of the text, all the words to know in this unit.
Answer. All the words to know in this unit are spelled and defined below.
Words to know. Aesthetic.
Definition. Concerned with beauty or the appreciation of beauty.
Amenity.
Definition. A desirable or useful feature of a building or place. Carpal tunnel syndrome, CTS. Definition. A condition caused by pressure on the median nerve in the wrist,
Often due to repetitive motion, resulting in pain, numbness, and tingling in the hand. Controversial.
Definition.
Giving rise or likely to give rise to public disagreement.
Cumulative trauma disorder, CTD. Definition. An injury to the musculoskeletal or nervous system caused by repeated stress or motion over time.
Discipline.
Definition. A branch of knowledge, training that corrects or molds behavior, or control gained by enforcing obedience.
Ergonomics.
Definition. The study of people's efficiency in their working environment and the design of equipment and devices to fit the human body.
Evoke.
Definition. To bring or recall a feeling, memory, or image to the conscious mind.
Glare screen.
Definition. A filter placed over a video display terminal to reduce glare and reflections that cause eye strain.
Ocular accommodation.
Definition. The ability of the eye to change focus from distant to near objects.
Precise.
Definition. Exact, accurate, and careful about details.
Renovate.
Definition. To restore to a good state of repair or to make new again. Video display terminal, VTD.
Definition. A computer terminal with a screen for displaying information, also called a VDT.
The science of ergonomics. Ergonomics has finally come to the forefront of the workplace in the 90s,
even though this science has been around for over 50 years. Its origin was during World War II, when attention to the success of pilots was vital to the outcome of the war. In order to make the duties of the pilots as effective as possible, a team of designers and planners was called upon to determine the detailed changes that had to be made to make the pilot's job easier and more precise, and therefore improve performance. This scientific discipline continues to advance and is becoming very highly technical regarding the well-being, safety, and productivity of employees. A 1994 poster from the Division of Safety and Hygiene in cooperation with the Society of Ohio Safety Engineers states, "Make sure that your job fits you." Ergonomics is the answer. The picture that goes along with this statement shows a male blue-collar worker in uniform being measured for the job with a tape measure by a seamstress. There is another male worker in the background wearing safety glasses at a workstation, sitting on a chair that is of comfortable height for his job. The picture evokes thought regarding the purpose of ergonomics. Ergonomics is the applied science of being concerned with the nature and characteristics of people as they relate to design and activities, with the intention of producing more effective results and greater safety. In the industry in general, this science applies to both the workers and the products that are produced. Research has shown that in order for humans to be productive and efficient in the workplace, the health and safety of employees is a primary concern. In another definition, the science of ergonomics also includes the study and analysis of human work as it is affected by individual anatomy, psychology, and other human factors. Attention is also geared to convenience and comfort. This science also includes the skills and abilities of workers as well as their shortcomings. In the field of medicine, for the most part, employees are by nature interested in the well-being of others. So it is fitting that those who care for others should first have their own health and safety assured as they provide services to others.
All of us require the same basic physical needs: oxygen, food, water, and protection.
As you will study, these basic needs must be met before other needs and desires can be realized. These basics satisfy our human needs and make it possible for us to share feelings and care for ourselves and others. In a service-based business such as the medical profession, the number of persons necessary for an efficient patient flow that brings in steady income varies from facility to facility. There are those offices or clinics where it seems that there are so many employees that they are tripping over each other, yet they are always behind schedule, while other offices are understaffed, yet have the same problem. The fault may be more complex than one may realize at first glance. The ergonomic design of a medical facility. Often, the inefficiency of the staff lies in the design of the facility. If the planners were not aware of the nature of the business that was to take place there, the problem may never be completely solved. Some medical practices are moved into an office space where another type of business totally unrelated to medicine previously resided. Valiant attempts are made to renovate the facility to accommodate a productive practice. However, many spaces are just not easily adapted and do not accommodate the practice of medicine efficiently.
Sometimes the answer may be to bring in an efficiency consultant who will observe for a day or longer, depending on how complex the problem seems to be in order to determine what needs to be done.
An outsider is always more objective and will see more readily any trouble areas that need attention. A medical facility that has a goal of treating ambulatory patients must have an efficient traffic pattern so that there is only a minimal waiting time for each patient. Considerations in medical facility, layout, and design.
Among the many considerations that need to be studied for an ergonomically sound workplace are original floor plan or blueprint, layout connecting hallways, walkways, actual room space, environmental factors, lighting, acoustics, decor, adaptability, psychology, human factors. This includes a vast array of considerations, of which the discussion follows. Layout. Since the layout of a facility is the basis for the list of complex considerations, its importance cannot be overstated.
The layout determines the available space and traffic pattern. Most medical personnel in this instance seem to adapt to just about any situation. Even though space limits work in some ways, there is flexibility with employees. Most people adapt to most situations and do the best they can with what they are given and establish a comfortable routine. Hallways and walkways. In any public facility, access for the physically challenged in entering and exiting the premises is a federal mandate. The walkways from the parking lot and hallways into the office must always be clear for safe passage. Ramps for wheelchairs are required wherever necessary. Within the office, aisles must be wide enough to allow a wheelchair clear passage without blocking the path of others. This applies to visitors and employees alike. If there are stairways connecting floors, an elevator must be available for those who are unable to climb stairs.
This applies to all patients and employees who have various conditions, physical limitations, or medical disabilities that would prevent them from using the stairs. Assistance animals, usually well-trained dogs, must be permitted on the premises to attend to their dependent owners.
Actual room space. The actual space of each room should be proportionate to the purpose of the room. In existing buildings, adaptation for the ideal inefficiency is not always possible. The reception area needs to be large enough to accommodate several people at a time. Also, many offices and clinics have many physicians on staff, which results in an increase in the number of people at any given time being present in the reception area. Overcrowded rooms, especially in the medical office setting, can be harmful to those who are not seriously ill when they are unnecessarily exposed to those who are. Having access to a public restroom is a convenience as well as a necessity for patients who are ill. A drinking fountain and a public telephone are also public service amenities. Environmental factors. The room temperature of a facility is one of the most critical of all environmental factors. This alone can affect work performance and change one's attitude drastically if it is uncomfortably hot or cold. Proper ventilation is also necessary, but drafts should be avoided. The use of window coverings may be necessary to keep out direct sunlight, which could also be the cause of overheating. Another consideration for the environment is the presence of foul odors. Keeping the office clear of trash and other messes will help to control this problem. Daily cleaning and routine in-depth cleaning will control odors and eliminate the possibility of potential pests. In the event of an unwanted odor, a room freshener spray may be used. A citrus scent is fresh-smelling and will help diminish the offensive odor quickly. Avoid spraying directly at persons who are seated. Odors may also signal a problem with overheating of equipment, chemical leaks, or other serious potential health hazards. A quick response to any such odor is critical to the health and safety of all present. Lighting. The ideal in making a room bright is accomplished with the use of both electrical and natural lighting. Since some facilities have no windows to allow for natural light, this presents a challenge in obtaining an adequate amount of light. Fluorescent lighting is usually the choice because it is the most cost-effective, even though natural lighting is the best. In offices where it is possible, skylights are popular. This can improve mood and behavior because it gives one a feeling of being open and light. Many facilities make use of indirect lighting, lamps, and overhead lights in a variety of ways to provide light for a particular need, and/or as an aspect of the interior decorating. The avoidance of glare is advised with all lighting, as it can impair one's vision and is uncomfortable as well. Mirrors and wall hangings, in addition to wall coverings, must be included in the assessment of lighting and glare capabilities for any room. Reflections from a metallic print wallpaper can be very annoying. Note: a safety factor that must have constant attention is the lighting of hallways, doorways, and stairways. The facility should also call attention to all exits. Accidents can be prevented by supplying proper lighting and by regularly checking to ensure this is maintained. Computer lighting. For those who work with computers on a routine basis, a glare screen should be used.
The monitor or video display terminal, VDT, should be positioned to prevent excess glare, figure 428.
The operator must also have eye examinations and vision screening on a regular basis to stay on top of any difficulties that may develop. A frequent exercise for computer operators is to look into the distance away from the computer to prevent ocular accommodation, which can cause headaches and blurring of vision. Lubricating eye drops may also be helpful to prevent dry, itchy eyes.
To prevent conditions of cumulative trauma disorder, CTD, and carpal tunnel syndrome, CTS, ergonomists recommend that computer operators work with a special keyboard, figure 429.
A wrist support for standard keyboards can also prevent these problems, figure 430. Using a vertical document holder that is either freestanding or attached to a flexible equipment arm helps to diminish eye strain and promote good posture, figure 4 to 31. Those who must sit for long periods of time should stand, stretch, and move about periodically in order to relax muscles and increase circulation. Planning the workload so that there is a balance of keying, telephone communications, preparing documents, and filing will prevent slumps. This varied schedule of duties also helps to stay mentally alert. Acoustics. Equally as important for the comfort and well-being of others is attention to the acoustics in a facility.
Noise can be kept to a moderate level with the use of fabrics. Furniture, carpet, drapes, and other items can absorb sound.
A soft general medley of instrumental-type music can be comforting and relaxing for employees and patients alike. Background music can help eliminate the silence that makes some people uncomfortable. It can also be a deterrent to keep patients in the waiting room from listening to the receptionist's conversations on the phone, and with those who speak to him/her at the window.
The music selected can be varied but not too loud, under 50 to 60 decibels, as it could be offensive to some patients.
Loud noise can be very stressful and can evoke a variety of emotions and possibly hearing loss if it is over 90 decibels for long periods, hours of time. The same concerns apply to televisions in the reception area. A channel that is positive and uplifting is more acceptable to those waiting. There are some offices that use a television set in the reception area for patient education. Videos that inform patients about the latest in medical news or about diet and exercise, or other valuable information can be very helpful in increasing the knowledge of those in the care of the physician. Educational videos can also be helpful in keeping those waiting from arguing over what to watch. Also, in very large medical centers, there are often water fountains that produce a very favorable sound called pink noise from the water falling. Decor. The decor of the facility is vitally important, as it is the first impression a person processes when entering the office. The environment should be bright and fresh to look at, because this subconsciously begins to set the tone of one's attitude. Employees who are in the facility daily should have not only safe, but pleasant surroundings for their well-being too. The decor can have a psychological impact on keeping a positive outlook. In a facility where colors and lighting are dark and sparse, those employed and those who visit may experience a feeling of sadness or depression upon entering, and also lose interest in activity. Where light colors are used with soft but adequate lighting, one gets a feeling of comfort and warmth from the surroundings. Everyone feels more positive and energetic in bright and colorful rooms.
Use of greenery and plants, either live or artificial, gives a nice touch, as do aquariums.
Remember, though, that they need regular care and/or replacement as necessary for aesthetic purposes. Adaptability. Adaptability of an office is also of critical concern. For employees to efficiently perform their duties, the facility should yield a pattern of fluid workability. This includes adequate space for performing all necessary functions in the most efficient way possible. Figure 432 provides an example of a workstation for an administrative medical assistant who has a variety of duties to perform daily. Making each job as easy and efficient as possible for optimum use of time and space is the goal of ergonomics. For those who sit most of the day at work, proper seating is necessary to avoid back and other work-related conditions. Figure 433 shows the effects of one's posture while standing and sitting in two different types of chairs. An adjustable chair is desirable for comfort and support of the back. A footrest may also be helpful in promoting good posture, figure 434. Patients and other visitors will easily find their way around the facility if thought has been given to their needs regarding the most frequently used areas. This includes restrooms, a drinking fountain, seating, reading materials, and so on. If those who are providing health care to patients can easily perform their duties, there is a feeling of confidence among those present. Employees who do not constantly have to backtrack and bump into others can become efficient and feel good about accomplishments. In a crowded facility where steps are repeated and someone is always in the way, levels of frustration mount quickly.
Psychological human factors. With all considerations for an ergonomically sound workplace,
the psychological aspect is by far the most critical. Getting along with others is the single most important factor in employability. Outlining the various areas of concern for the philosophy of ergonomics is the basis for good working relationships. Having one of these areas altered can trigger a potential problem. Careful consideration of all areas is necessary for a smoothly run office and for good public relations to progress. Complete Chapter 4, Unit 4 in the workbook to help you meet the objectives at the beginning of this unit and therefore achieve competency in this subject matter. Unit 5. Preparing for the day. Objectives. Upon completion of the unit, meet the following terminal performance objectives by verifying knowledge of the facts and principles presented through oral and written communication at a level deemed competent, and demonstrate the specific behaviors as identified in the terminal performance objectives of the procedures, observing safety precautions in accordance with healthcare standards. 1. List 5 things to check in a reception room environment.
Answer. 5 things to check in a reception room environment are cleanliness, seating arrangement,
reading material, temperature, and lighting. 2. List 4 tasks to do before opening the office, in addition to the reception room check.
Answer. 4 tasks to do before opening the office, in addition to the reception room check,
are to unlock doors, turn on equipment, check the appointment schedule, and review messages. 3. Explain why being the receptionist is an important position.
Answer. Being the receptionist is an important position because the receptionist is the first contact for patients,
sets the tone for the office, manages patient flow, protects confidentiality, and influences the patient's impression of the entire practice. 4. List at least 5 responsibilities of the receptionist.
Answer. At least 5 responsibilities of the receptionist are greeting patients, answering telephones, scheduling appointments, obtaining preliminary patient information, and maintaining the reception area.
5. Demonstrate the open the office procedure.
Answer. Open the office. Procedure is demonstrated by unlocking doors, turning on lights and equipment, checking the reception room,
reviewing the day's schedule, preparing patient charts, and checking telephone messages. 6. Demonstrate the obtain preliminary patient information procedure.
Answer. Obtain preliminary patient information. Procedure is demonstrated by greeting the patient,
providing registration forms, verifying insurance information, recording demographic data, and noting the reason for the visit. 7. Identify 5 pieces of information found on a completed charge slip.
Answer. 5 pieces of information found on a completed charge slip are patient name, date of service,
services provided or procedure codes, diagnosis codes, and fees charged. 8. List 4 things you will find inside a new patient's chart folder.
Answer. 4 things you will find inside a new patient's chart folder are the patient registration form,
the medical history form, the insurance information, and consent for treatment. 9. List 2 reasons to use a checklist.
Answer. 2 reasons to use a checklist are to ensure all required tasks are completed and to prevent errors or omissions during opening and closing routines.
10. Demonstrate the close the office procedure.
Answer. Close the office procedure is demonstrated by verifying all patients have been seen,
securing patient records, turning off equipment, straightening the reception room, locking doors, and setting alarms if applicable. 11. Spell and define, using the glossary at the back of the text. All the words to know in this unit. Answer. All the words to know in this unit are spelled and defined below. Words to know. Atmosphere.
Definition. The general mood or feeling of a place or situation.
Appointment.
Definition. An arrangement to meet with someone at a particular time and place.
Brochure.
Definition. A small booklet or pamphlet containing information or advertising.
Communication.
Definition. The act of exchanging information, ideas, or feelings.
Confidentiality.
Definition. The practice of keeping information private and not sharing it with unauthorized persons.
Diversion.
Definition. An activity that takes attention away from something else.
Environment.
Definition. The surroundings or conditions in which a person operates.
Insurance.
Definition. A contract in which an individual receives financial protection against losses from an insurer.
Intervention.
Definition. The act of coming between to prevent or alter a result or course of events.
Preliminary form.
Definition. An initial document used to gather basic information before a process begins.
Receptionist. Definition. A person employed to greet callers, answer the telephone, and handle front office duties. Schedule.
Definition. A plan that lists times at which events are intended to take place.
Preparing for the day. There is no set list of things to do in order to prepare for the day. Preparation procedures vary according to the type of practice, number of physicians, weekly schedules, and a lot of other variables. Some doctors may not see patients every day. Surgeons frequently reserve a day or two a week for surgery and have office hours on the other days. Physicians who are affiliated with university schools of medicine will teach and work with medical students and may see personal patients only 1 or 2 days a week. The following content discusses general things that need to be considered when preparing to receive patients in the office. The staff should arrive at the office in time to make preparations for receiving patients. If adequate time is not available, it seems like you can never get organized or caught up. There are several things that need attention before the first patient arrives. Procedure 4-5. Open the office addresses many of these tasks. 1. Unlock the reception room door. This refers to the door to the outside hallway or building exterior. The door between the reception room and the interior of the office should probably be locked from the reception room side for safety reasons, as discussed in Chapter 4, Unit 1. Be certain that the lock is set on the outside door so that it does not lock itself when it is closed. Check any open/closed sign for proper reading. 2. Observe the physical environment of the reception room. Studies have shown that the reception room atmosphere can be an intervention, or in other words, a go-between, or mediation to the outcome of the office visit. Atmosphere affects how people experience their environment and may have a relationship to their response to treatment. Check the temperature. The room temperature should ensure the patient's comfort. Look at the room's appearance. The room should appear pleasant and well-maintained. The arrangement of chairs can say, secluded or sociable, which affects communication in the room. The presence of large plants and attractive paintings soften the office environment. The choice of color and lighting affects behavior. Soft colors and subdued light tend to calm the hostile person. The use of relaxing background music has become commonplace in medical and dental offices. Aquariums can provide diversion and have an enjoyable bubbling sound. Try standing in the reception room and looking around. Be conscious of the sights, sounds, and even smells you perceive. Ask yourself, what does this office say to me? Hopefully, it is a favorable response. Perform a safety check. Review safety in the reception room in Chapter 4, Unit 1. Remember to make a daily visual check of electrical devices, furniture, floors, and lighting before any patients arrive. Care should be taken to make the whole office accident-proof. An incident in the office can result in a patient filing a suit for alleged pain and injury. If anyone should be injured, no matter how insignificant it may seem, the medical assistant must have the individual examined by the physician. If the patient should claim they were not injured and refuse examination, the incident must still be carefully recorded on their chart, and the refusal of care noted. Some physicians may require a signed release of responsibility in order to protect against a later claim of injury. Check the reading material. Neatly arrange magazines. Make them accessible to several seating areas. Remove torn and very outdated material. Encourage the physician or physicians to subscribe to a variety of reading materials appropriate to both males and females of all ages. Many physicians have a prepared brochure which describes their practice, discusses the office policies, and provides information regarding appointments, office hours, and other useful details. Often there is a short biographical sketch of the physician or physicians. The brochure should be given to all new patients, and a supply placed in the reception area for anyone who may be interested.
An assortment of informative health-related pamphlets may also be found in a display rack. Figure 435.
These should be attractively arranged and restocked as needed. Check the toys and books. If there are children's toys or books provided, they require constant monitoring. All toys should be washable and of a safe design and material with no sharp edges or parts small enough for a child to swallow. The toys should be cleaned regularly. During daily inspection, remove any broken or visibly soiled toys or books. If at all possible, the children's play area should be situated in a corner or within a half-walled space in order to contain things within a controlled area, to reduce the possibility of adults falling over objects on the floor. Display the smoking policy. In view of regulations against the use of smoking materials in a public area, and the overwhelming evidence of the effects of secondhand smoke, a medical office probably does not permit smoking. Be certain the no smoking sign is displayed and that it is enforced. There should be no ashtrays accessible. 3. Retrieve telephone messages. Retrieve and record all messages on the answering machine. If an outside service is used, call and obtain the messages. 4. Pull charts. Look at the appointment book, or run a hard copy from the computer of all patients who have appointments that day. Pull the charts of previously seen patients. Be certain to attach reports of any previously ordered studies to the chart. Have materials ready for initiating charts for scheduled new patients. This process can often be done the night before to lessen morning preparation duties. Many offices like to post a copy of the day's schedule in a common area for reference. Some physicians want a list of patients and appointment times on their desk for their personal use. 5. Inspect examination rooms. Visually inspect all rooms for cleanliness. Even if they were cleaned when the previous office day closed, the physician may have seen a patient after hours. Replace examining paper and be certain waste receptacles are emptied. Observe room temperature and plug in any disconnected electrical equipment. Be certain everything is in working condition. Restock supplies so that needed materials are available. 6. Check common work areas. Check for cleanliness and be certain everything is in order. Check the water level in the sterilizer and turn it on. Be sure hazardous waste disposal containers are available for use in all areas where needed. Procedure 4-5. Open the office. Purpose: to prepare the office to see patients. Materials: a simulated office, if available. Otherwise, role-play explaining the procedure. Terminal performance. Objective: following all the steps in the procedure, role-play the actions necessary to prepare a medical office to see patients. Actions must be verbally described while performing. 1. Unlock the reception room door. 2. Adjust heat or air conditioning for the comfort of the patients. 3. Check for safety hazards in the office. Note: check for frayed electric wires, damaged furniture, objects on the carpet which might cause patients to fall. 4. Check magazines for condition and date. Note: be sure magazines are current. Torn or damaged magazines should be removed from the waiting room. 5. Check the telephone answering device or call the answering service for any messages. 6. Pull the charts of patients to be seen. Note: write or stamp with today's date. Check the patient's previous visit to see if any studies were ordered. Rationale: results must be filed in the chart before the patient is seen. 7. Check examination rooms to be sure they are clean and stocked with supplies. Note: this is necessary in case the physician may see a patient after office hours and may not have put things away. 8. Fill and turn on sterilizer. 9. Prepare hazardous waste disposal containers. 10. If it is the policy of the office, prepare a list of the patients to be seen and the times of their appointments, and post and/or place copies in designated areas. The medical assistant may serve as the receptionist, whose responsibility is to greet and receive patients. This is a very significant role. The receptionist is usually the first person a patient encounters in the office. This initial experience must be very positive. Greet the patient promptly and courteously. Make an extra effort to make the patient feel at ease. Studies have shown that a patient forms their initial impression of the office in the first 4 minutes of the office visit. The receptionist may be perceived as the doorway into the office. A pleasant tone of voice and maintaining eye contact are important when talking to patients. Attempt to call them by their full name. Listen intently to the patient's report. Mark and explain thoroughly any requests you make of them. Take opportunities to show that you care about their concerns and problems. Be especially careful not to ask questions or discuss matters that may be personal in a voice that can be heard by others in the reception room. Instead, bring the patient into the office to obtain this information. Respect your patient's right to confidentiality. The receptionist must look and act professionally. Good grooming is essential. When you are neat and clean, it conveys the impression of confidence and a businesslike manner. Acting professionally is evident in the manner in which you deal with patients, both in the office and over the phone, with visitors, your coworkers, and your employer. It also shows when you perform your duties efficiently and effectively. The receptionist is usually charged with answering the phone, making routine calls, and scheduling appointments. This responsibility requires an understanding of common diseases and disorders and the basic office operational procedures. It often demands tactful dealings with patients. The receptionist must determine when to enlist the assistance of other professionals in dealing with patients' concerns and requests. The receptionist should be positioned within the office in such a way as to have a clear view of the reception room. If the space is within the office proper, behind a wall with a glass window partition, it may not be easily seen. The area must be observed frequently to monitor the activity and to check for new arrivals who may fail to come to the window. This separated physical arrangement does have the advantage of providing privacy while engaging in a telephone conversation, talking with a patient, or performing duties. It is important to monitor the social climate of the reception area. Be alert to any annoying behavior that may cause an unfavorable impression of the office. Some people may become involved in a conversation with another patient, who eventually becomes overzealous and opinionated. The best solution to the problem is to take the offender into an examination room where he/she can wait to be seen by the physician. Children often become restless, noisy, and irritable while waiting. Occasionally, their parents do not notice the behavior, or are unaware that others are being annoyed. They do not attempt to amuse the child. Unless you can tactfully suggest another toy or book as a diversion, it may be necessary to move this patient into an examination room as well. Remember, people are affected by their atmosphere. Be especially alert if a very ill patient enters the office. They should not have to sit and wait in a reception room. As soon as possible, assist them into an examination room where they can be made comfortable until the physician can see them. Remember to ensure the patient's safety. Warn them and advise their companion that they must be careful while lying on the narrow examination table. The receptionist may also be given the responsibility of preparing the charge slip, which accompanies the patient's chart. Medical offices usually have a slip that lists the procedures, with the respective codes, which are performed in the office. The charge slip has a space for the patient's name and date, and may request additional information. Some large clinics prepare charge cards, which are used to stamp the patient's name and account number on the charge slip. When the physician completes the examination or treatment, the charges are entered on the slip, and it is given to the patient with instructions to take it to a designated person on their way out of the office. Forms will vary from one type of practice to another. Where computers are used, the form will be designed to be compatible with the software program being used. Figure 436 is an example of a computerized charge slip specially designed for a medical practice. This form will probably be pre-printed with the patient identification information that is stored in the computer. Procedure 4-6. Obtain new patient information. Purpose: to obtain initial information from a new patient. Materials: an assigned patient, a patient's initial information form, a clipboard, a pen, a mock insurance card, a charge slip, a chart folder, tabs, and a typewriter. Terminal performance objective: in a simulated situation, clearly communicate instructions and complete the steps in the procedure to obtain patient information and assemble all required materials. 1. Take the new patient to a private room to ask preliminary questions, or ask the new patient to complete a data sheet. Note: give the patient a clipboard and pen and offer assistance, if needed. Ask the patient to return the form when it is completed. A medical history is a potential legal document. Check to be sure the form is completed accurately and legibly, and signed where appropriate. 2. Prepare a patient folder by typing the patient's name on a label and attaching it to the tab of the folder. 3. Transfer information from the form to the chart sheet. 4. Copy the insurance card, both sides. 5. Insert the chart, sheets, information form, and insurance card copy in the folder. 6. Prepare charge slip. 7. Place the folder in the area reserved for charts of patients to be seen. Note: if you have received any referral material on a new patient, be sure to place it with the chart. New patients. The receptionist is usually responsible for the completion of the new patient information form, figure 437. If this is to be done in an interview format, be sure that others cannot overhear the questioning process. Usually, a new patient is given the form and a clipboard and requested to complete the information. A pen or pencil should be provided. It is important to give clear instructions and ask if there are any questions. Be observant. If the patient seems reluctant to accept the form, appears confused, or is not making progress, they may have a reading problem. Quickly offer to assist. Check to be sure this preliminary form is complete and signed by the responsible party. At this time, it is normally routine to request insurance cards from the patient so that they may be copied on both sides for the necessary billing information. If necessary, verification of coverage can be obtained by phoning the insurance company. The copy of the card and the preliminary form are placed in a folder along with the chart sheets and any other referral materials received. The patient's name or number, if the filing method is numerical, is typed onto a label that is attached to the tab of the folder. Before the patient is seen, the charge slip is completed and attached to the chart. The chart is then placed in a designated area until the patient is taken to an examination room. Then it is placed in a holder on the door outside the room, ready for the physician when the patient is seen. Procedure 4.6 discusses the steps in obtaining new patient information.
Procedure: close the office. Purpose: to prepare the office to be closed. Materials: a simulated office if available. Otherwise, role play explaining the procedure. Terminal performance. Objective: following all the steps in the procedure, role play the actions required to close the office.
Actions must be verbally described while performing the procedure. 1. Check to see that records are collected and filed in locked cabinets. 2. Place any money received in a safe or take it to the bank to be deposited. 3. Turn off all electrical appliances.
Note: many offices ask that you unplug electrical appliances. Rationale: eliminates the chance of electrical fire.
4. Check that rooms are all cleaned and supplied for the next day. 5. Straighten the reception room if time allows. 6. Pull charts for the next day if time allows. 7. Activate the answering device on the phone or notify the answering service and indicate when you will be back in the office. 8. Turn off the lights. 9. Note: activate alarm system if available. 10. Set the lock and close the door. 11. Check to ensure that it is locked.
Closing the office. At the end of the day, the examination rooms should be restocked, cleaned,
and any discarded material should be placed for pickup. This saves time the next morning. Charts must be collected, checked for completeness, and filed in a locked cabinet. If there is no time to file, place it in a separate folder of charts to be filed and place it in the cabinet to be filed the next day. Some doctors may dictate their notes, which must first be typed onto the chart before it can be filed. All electrical appliances and the sterilizer must be turned off. Receipts collected during the day can be taken to the bank for deposit or locked in the office safe. If there is time, tidy the reception area and pull the next day's records. Always take a walk through the office to complete your checklist of things to do. Activate your answering system and turn off the lights. Activate the alarm system if available and securely lock the door. See Procedure 4.7. Complete. Chapter 4, Unit 5 in the workbook, to help you meet the objectives at the beginning of this unit, and therefore achieve competency in this subject matter.
Medical, legal, ethical highlights. Consider the following situation. Mrs. Jones is a young woman whose husband recently left her with 2 small children. Because she was married and began her family soon after graduating from high school, she has not acquired specific employable skills or gained much work experience. She is currently enrolled in a job training program, but found it necessary to seek public assistance until she is able to get a good job. She is making her first visit to the physician's office and has just completed the new patient information form and given it to the Ms. Wrong, reviews the form for completeness, and notices the patient is on welfare. Across the crowded reception room to Mrs. Jones calls, "I'll need a copy of your Medicaid card so I can bill welfare for this office visit." Mrs. Jones feels embarrassed as she complies with the request. She wonders how many people in the room think she is just too lazy to work. Since the receptionist employee was so inconsiderate, she also wonders if the physician will treat her badly. Fortunately, Ms. Wrong was overheard by the office manager, who warned her that her action was very inappropriate and that she was noting this on her performance record. She also told Ms. Wrong that she should apologize to Mrs. Jones for her thoughtlessness. Employment outlook. Under observation.
Ms. Wright reviews the form for completeness and notices the patient is on welfare. She says, "Mrs. Jones, will you please come to the reception window?" After she arrives, Ms. Wright asks her to step inside the office, where she tells her she will need her Medicaid card so she can make a copy for billing purposes. Mrs. Jones complies with the request and feels Ms. Wright is very professional. She thinks the physician must be very competent since his employee is so thoughtful. The office manager saw what Ms. Wright had been done and commented about the way in which she had respected the patient's right to confidentiality. Employment outlook, favorable.